Hello, Speech 0109, Introductory Public Speaking. Professor Carr here to talk about Chapter 1, Finding Your Voice. It's really important that you find your voice as you begin to explore this public speaking class, and there are many ways in which we can accomplish this goal. But some of the first things we want to recognize is when we're trying to find our voice, there are several learning objectives we want to address. First, we want to understand the personal, social, and cultural benefits of the course. Learning how to be an effective public speaker is not just only effective for this class, but it could also affect you in your personal relationships, in the workplace, here at Harris-Stowe State University, and even out into the bigger world. Also, our next part is we want to appreciate the historical roots of contemporary perspectives on public speaking. We want to find out who's good speakers right now, who are effective speakers, who know how to move people, who know how to use words, who are the movers and the shakers. We want to know about these people. We also want to appreciate the ethics in public speaking, because now we're living in an era where truth is not truth in the media, or someone has their own truth, or we're even living in a situation where we have what are called alternative facts. So it's important that we know that there are codes of ethics in public speaking as well. So these are the ways we can help find our voice. And it's important that we learn how to do that. In order to do that, we have to approach it very seriously. So we want to talk about those benefits that we can gain. So one of the first benefits we want to look at are personal benefits. Let me read you just an excerpt from the book to help you understand. As you put together speeches on topics you care about, you will explore your own interests, values, and expand your base of knowledge and develop your skills of creative expression. In short, you will be finding your own unique voice as an individual, a voice distinct from all others. As rhetorical analyst Roger Carr puts it, and I quote, "Communication is the ultimate people-making discipline. To become eloquent is to activate one's humanity, to apply the imagination, and to solve the practical problems of human living." End of quote. So it's very, very important that we see that there is a personal benefit for us to become effective public speakers. Secondly, there are social benefits to becoming an effective public speaker. We are getting to an age, if not already an age, where we need to exercise our civic duties, to be able to vote, to be able to be part of a jury, to be selected for a jury, and to engage in civic matters. So learning the benefits, the social benefits of effective public speaking can also benefit you outside, because as a young voter, you'll be affecting policy and procedure and regulations that will perhaps even be effective even years to come. It says here in the text that the political system of the United States is built on faith in open and robust public communication. Indeed, Thomas Jefferson emphasized allowing freedom of speech as basic to the health and survival of a democratic society. So it's really important that we learn the importance of the First Amendment, which is our freedom of speech, our freedom of assembly, as we look back at those who came before us, those who marched in the Civil Rights Movement. They knew and understood the power of their freedom of speech, their right to peacefully assemble, and they exercised those rights to the fullest extent. And because they exercised their voices, because they found their voices, we are able to enjoy the benefits of today. There are also cultural benefits from becoming an effective public speaker. You can reach across different cultures. You can overcome language barriers to reach out to others from different backgrounds from you, so we don't stay insulated in our own little shells. So learning the cultural benefits, so we can learn to appreciate how important is public speaking or expression in another country, in another faith, in another culture, in another ethnicity. It's very important that we learn these aspects. It says here in the text, in finding your voice, the story of your quest. Keep a journal in which you record your experiences as you navigate this class. As one of your first entries, consider what you think finding your voice might mean in your life and career. Formulate at least 3 personal growth goals you hope to reach during the course. Then for each of your speeches, keep a record of how you select your topic, develop your plans, and prepare your presentation. What are your thoughts as you plan to present your speech? In what ways are you making progress towards your goals? So it's very important that we plan to be successful in public speaking. There are personal benefits, there are social benefits, and there are cultural benefits to becoming an effective public speaker. And that's what we're going to explore in the rest of the chapter. We're moving on to the next section, Introduction to Public Speaking. We're going to explore the historical roots of public speaking. So when we think of historical roots, of course we're thinking of Western Europe, we're thinking of early Greek, ancient Greek, and Roman societies. But we also need to think about the African societies in Egypt and other places in Africa, such as Ethiopia. So much of that ancient wisdom really can affect how we approach public speaking today. But for the purpose of the text, we're going to be looking at some of the contributions of Aristotle, who gave us some very specific instructions about public speaking in the different contexts. So we're going to be looking at the idea of deliberative speeches, and according to the text, used to propose, discuss, debate, and decide future policies and laws. So it's very important that we know and understand what deliberative speeches are. We also need to know and understand about forensic speeches, which are used to determine the rightness and wrongness of past actions, often in courts of law. We're going to get a preview of what we call ceremonial speeches, in which ceremonial speeches give a tribute to an individual or highlight or magnify the accomplishments of an individual. And we also want to introduce you to 3 very important words that you're going to hear throughout the entire semester, and if you're in an English composition class, you'll probably hear them, and also in a philosophy class. So the one thing you'll understand about the early Greeks, they had to master what we call the lively arts, and they all intersected at one point or another. But these 3 words are very important. They're all Greek words. The first word is logos. Logos, they are appeals based on reason and logic. This is definitely one of the appeals you want to become immersed in and become very fluent in, because as you become an effective speaker, you will not only move from speaking about yourself and informing others, one of your most important speeches is a persuasive speech, to be able to persuade your classmates and others to think and act a different way. The second appeal is pathos, which appeals to emotions. We use narratives, we use examples and personal stories to relate that sort of first-person narrative so we can connect with our audiences. And the third that we're going to discuss is ethos. And ethos are appeals based on the perceived competence, integrity, goodwill, and dynamism of the speaker. Can your speakers trust you? Have you done the research? Have you prepared your speech? Have you rehearsed it in a way that it will have the maximum effect on your audience? So as we look at individuals, we have individuals such as Aristotle, who in a very real sense established the school of Athens, which is one of our precursors for the university in Western Europe. We also have the Roman orator Cicero, who was also a very effective speaker, who penned a book called De Oratore, which means simply the art of speaking or orating. But as I end this section, I want to read to you 10 timeless lessons from the ancient world. And I want you to listen very carefully, and we'll discuss them in class as well. All wisdom is sometimes the best wisdom, especially when it has been tested repeatedly and confirmed time and again in human experience. Here are 10 gold nuggets of advice for the public speaker, mined from ancient writings. 1, if you want to convince listeners that you have a good message for them, you must convince them that you are a good person. So it is very important that you are a good person and that you operate in an ethical manner. 2, if you want strong communication and commitment from an audience, you must engage strong feelings. So don't be afraid to be passionate about what you're passionate about. Don't worry about what people are thinking. Some people are going to disagree with you no matter what you say. But then you also find many people will agree with you. So don't be afraid of strong feelings. 3, if you want commitment to last, you must be able to show that your arguments are based on sound, logical interpretations of reality. As I related to you in class, research is a very, very important aspect of public speaking. And if you are sharing information, you want to make sure that it has been properly researched and it sounds rooted in reality. 4, when speaking on matters of guilt or innocence, you must emphasize the morality of past actions. History plays a huge role in public speaking. We need to know what happened in the past so we can relate it to what's happening now and where will it go in the future. 5, when speaking on matters of future policy, you must stress the practical advantages of proposed plans of action. Many times people want to follow what you're saying, but they don't have a clear plan of action. They don't know how it works. They can't visualize it. So that's your job as a public speaker, to put this plan in action, to visualize it, to make sure that your audience can follow you, and this plan is a step-by-step process that they can follow. Then people more than likely understand and maybe want to follow what you're proposing. 6, when celebrating great achievements, you must emphasize the values that make them great. If you choose a person for your ceremonial speech and you say, I want to do a speech on Martin Luther King, just don't say, well, he was just a great person. What did he do to make himself great? What kind of obstacles did he have to overcome? What superior achievements did he achieve? Did he do something unusual that maybe we've never heard of before or we didn't understand? What were some of the individual's unselfish motives? And finally, how does this individual benefit society? So that's how we show the value of that individual. 7, your speech should be based on thorough investigation of a topic so that you have the widest possible range of choices as you select ideas and materials for emphasis. Again, we cannot get around research. Research is going to follow you your entire academic career, so now is the best time to get involved with it. So don't be afraid to do reliable research. Research takes time. It is also a very tedious process, but it is well worth the wait. 8, you should follow an order of ideas that lead listeners to greater illumination and stronger conviction as you speak. In order for us to be effective speakers, we need to have an outline. We need to know what our ideas are. And we'll discuss later on about how when we don't have an outline, how we can go on what we call tangents. And then we go on tangents and we don't stay focused on a particular topic, we lose our audience. If we lose our audience, then our message is lost. 9, the right words will make your points come to life in images that your audience will easily remember. So that's why we want to expand our vocabulary. We want to use words that come alive and make our speeches come alive, that are descriptive, that also we can draw a picture and illustrate issues to. And finally, number 10, the more you can speak in a direct conversational way from a pattern of ideas imprinted in your mind rather than by reading a prepared text or reciting a memorized script, the better quality of communication you will have. There's nothing wrong with having an outline in front of you. There's nothing wrong with having note cards. But if you are tied to the words and the only thing that you do in that speech is read directly from it, I guarantee you, you will lose your audience. This is some wisdom from the ancient world, and we'll continue on this conversation into chapter 2.